Good morning again. It's Paul Feuerstein hiding out as usual. And it's morning for me, but it's afternoon for my dear friend David Claridge. David, good morning, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, good morning. Good morning. Hello, America, as they
Yeah,
say in
David's in
Hollywood.
the
Yeah.
UK somewhere. I don't know where exactly you are. You're somewhere in Great Britain.
I mean, yeah, Southwest UK. So,
And David's a very, very dear friend. We've known each other for many, many years. He's a digital expert on digital technology. He works for Carestream International. Spends all of his time, except for the last few months, the last few weeks, I mean, on an airplane going all over the world, literally. All over Europe, just Middle East, wherever it takes him. So, first of all, David, how are you? Number one.
I'm good. I'm good. Look, number one, me, my family, healthy.
That's the big thing.
That's goal number one. Yeah.
And so as of now in Great Britain, where do we stand with reopening and whatever that means?
Yeah, whatever that means. I mean, the it's in lockdown. Dentistry's in lockdown in the UK. Okay. The only thing that's certain is uncertainty at this moment in time, you know, and and I personally, if I start to try and get a crystal ball out there, then that's when, I just get so down because I think I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows. So if you look at that kind of almost like a grief cycle, isn't it, that dentistry's gone through, this Kubler-Ross grief cycle, whatever you call it. Where are we? I think dentists are heading towards a level of acceptance, of our state, because the government and furloughing and things and words that we never knew 6 months ago. Furloughing, I didn't know what that meant. So there are processes. The chief dental officer has a webinar, but then what comes out of there is a little bit more confusion. So really, we're all uncertain what the future will bring. You know me though, Paul. I'm an optimist, so I have to think there's some good that we need to bring out of this, but actually I'm just kind of living it day to day.
So you have friends and customers. I'll call them customers, but the way you treat your customers as best friends anyway. There's ways.
I'm a people person, Paul.
And
So I like people.
So how are you keeping in contact with everybody? And is there anything you can advise them and help them with in terms of the technology that you're dealing with or helping them out?
Well, okay, so what am I doing? So yes, you're right. If you look, how has my work life changed?
Yeah.
Zero travel.
Yeah.
And I covered 26 countries, as we mentioned. But there was a lot of time when I was in the air or in a car, and that was unproductive time. So I'm having more contact with dentists now through webinars. However, we've got to watch that because not everybody wants a webinar on the CS3600, CS3700 intraoral scanner at this moment in time. If they're in that kind of place, and I'm very careful that I don't want to say, okay, right, you're not working, I can train you. Do you want to buy? This is maybe the wrong time for that. So our message, or my message, is look, here if you need me. If you want to upskilling, we're calling it upskilling your downtime. If this is good, just give us a call and we'll set up one-to-one webinars or group webinars. So I'm having more face-to-face contact with dentists than I would through the traveling. And for me, I see that as I would personally like that to stay because as I say, I'm an extrovert. I need to charge my batteries in company, but that company can be face to face through a screen. Paul, you look just as good looking on this screen as you do when we meet in Cologne every 2 years.
Oh, I didn't show you this. I bought something special for you. I'm wearing my special Fred Flintstone tie.
I wondered what it would be today. Fantastic, fantastic. And the other thing, on a personal note, Paul, how's the guitar playing going? Because mine's getting a bit better since I've been at home.
Strangely, I've been spending a lot of time doing what we're doing here and writing, and so I keep turning to the guitar over to my left here, and I pick it up, and I thought I'd be a maestro by now, and
I can't have it in the room. That's the other thing that's interesting is obviously, so for us, we're in lockdown and our adult children have come home. Our daughter was in Amsterdam, so within. And heartbreaking for our daughter. Well, not heartbreaking. We're all healthy. That's the main thing. But she's come home and she was living her little dream life over there. She'd done her masters. She got an internship, then offered a position. That position's on hold. So everything's on hold. So what we're saying to our daughter and thing is, the future is just on pause. It will come back. In what shape it comes back in dentistry, we don't know.
that's the question, because we're about to tool up here where I am in Massachusetts and quote go back to work, and we don't know what that even looks like at this point.
No.
The whole workflow, the whole flow of people coming in and out of the office, things like that,
Yes.
is going to be quite peculiar.
See, I saw
Not to
something the
mention
other.
all the not to mention all the masks and gloves and things and all this other stuff that we have to put on.
You know, PPE is mentioned every 60 seconds, isn't it now?
Yeah.
And we're in dire need of PPE in the UK. Now, where dentistry goes, I don't know. I did see a suggestion the other day. They were saying that in the private world, there could be a clean down time, almost like every patient the surgery has got to be addressed as an implant surgery,
Yes.
case. So, and then a wipe down and a clean down of 30 minutes each patient.
Exactly.
Well, that doesn't help the National Health Service that see a lot of patients. And if you're a busy practice, how do you cope with that?
Yeah,
So
that's
who knows?
yeah. They're in Great Britain. There are multi-tiered practices. So you have
Yes.
the public health and then the private practice. And the public health serves like sort of clinical. The way I understand it.
Yeah. So just to go back, the certainty is uncertainty. We really don't know. As a personal thing, I think, okay, what can I influence? I can influence my webinar, and that's it. I can keep people that want trained. But I'm looking also, as an aside, Paul, what is interesting through this period is how people are reacting on Facebook. So me being a people person, I'm looking, and also I've actually found that I've got closer to a lot more people, and there's a lot of people that reacted differently to how I react as a person, which is see the positive in the situation, because otherwise it's too mind-numbing for me to just stay in that sort of depressive. I want to get to acceptance as fast as possible with that curve. Right?
We've all become humanized. I mean, you're watching TV shows, you're watching reporters. They're sitting in their living rooms and dressed in a t-shirt. There was a guy the other day on the TV who was wearing no pants.
Well, I've only put this top on for you, Paul. It's a policy we have in the house now because it saves on washing. No, but
shake it out and put it on again.
Turn it inside out. Absolutely, Paul. But you're right. You ring somebody and you hear a 2-year-old child in the background, and it's okay.
Yeah,
it's really quite nice. I rang somebody about because I can't remember what it was. We've got 2 cars on the drive. We need one working car in case we need to go, because my parents are 80 miles away. So unless we have to go to see my parents, but they're okay. They're in lockdown and they're getting all their food that they need and everything like that. But I don't know how. There's a puncture, okay, there's a tire. So how do you deal with that in this lockdown scenario? Because you need a working car, so economy or businesses are starting to change. The ones that are open and deemed as essential businesses, they're open. Now, so what happened in this scenario was that you don't take your car somewhere, you get somebody to come out, and they do not step inside your car. They do everything outside the car, so you know that the inside is still safe for you, and they watch you. You stand 5 meters away, and he said, I need you to see me wipe down the outside of your car.
Wow.
And I thought, so we do adapt, don't we?
Yeah, and we had an issue in my own house. We had a plumbing issue, and the plumbers said, "Is everybody okay in the house?" Luckily, my house was a basement problem, and there's outside access to the basement. The guy came in, looked like Darth Vader. He had this gigantic thing on his head. It was pleasant about the whole thing. But
Paul, I think certain parts of the world will not come back to as they were, and there might be certain parts of dentistry that actually was okay to change.
I think so, and just specifically talking about the technology that we work with, specifically myself and yourself, with intraoral scanning. I think when you think about now, what has to be done if you take an impression and then you have to clean it and send it to the lab and all this other stuff. This is going to be a beautiful transition, and in the long run, I think it's going to put more people into the digital world and taking the digital approach.
And that's what I hope. I'd like to predict that because obviously it helps me because that's the field I'm in, Yeah. But yes, it was something on Facebook the other day. There was a lab forum, a couple of lab forums that I'm in, and clinicians as well. And they were like 2 concurrent discussions in different forums, but along the same threads. And one was from the lab end. They were saying, how can we trust the impression and piece of paper and tissue roll and packaging that it comes in? And then somebody put in there, the only safe way to receive something from a dentist is a file, a digital file. And then in the dentist forum, they were saying, how can I trust something that comes back from the lab? And I thought to myself, the only way you can trust something is to control it yourself. So the only way to fully control, and the labs will hate me for saying it, if you like, the only way to fully control the infection protocols is in-house production, isn't it? So
Wow.
is chairside milling. Now it might be. So I wonder, Paul, whether I've been thinking about this, and I talk about, about fourth industrial revolution workflows and things like this. I wonder whether that will come to a fore where the adoption of chairside milling, adoption of the milling machine will grow, greater than it has been, but it's on the curve, on the upward curve. However, what you'll get is design centers as the middle bit. Okay, so you send your intraoral scan to a design center.
Correct. Yes.
2 minutes anywhere, it's there, isn't it? They design, they then send that back to the chairside mill. So that's a clean, carbon neutral, carbon footprint. There isn't one,
Yeah, there was a company
I wonder.
found, there's a few companies. One is called Full Contour, which you probably know, but there's a company I found, a website, it was, I forget the name of the company, and it said, we work when you sleep. It said, take your file, send it to
Absolutely.
us, and in the morning it'll be sitting at your machine, or they may even send it directly to the mill.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I know a lab in Holland that do that. So they're sending out to high volume practices. They're saying, here's the intraoral scanner, here's the milling machine. We will put the products through there.
Wow.
Here it is, and we will do your design for you. Which was, if you look at, chairside milling has been around, what, 35 years, something like that.
Sure.
It was that middle bit. It was that dentist becoming a technician, which was the sort of pullback,
And that's what I hear when I teach. They say, I want to be a dentist. I don't want to deal with all this.
Yeah.
Although I will say that if you take a scan and send it to a very good laboratory, they get the file immediately. They can put it into process immediately, and the turnaround is probably a few days at this point.
Yes.
But again, the packaging is, you're right, the packaging is coming, the tissue paper, the box, the whole thing. In my own house, my wife doesn't let the mail in. She leaves the mail out for a day, then she puts it in the oven at 150 degrees.
Wow.
for 10
Wow.
minutes or 15 minutes, and then opens the mail.
And your letters are still readable at 150 degrees?
Yeah. The only thing that melts is the little plastic part where the address is.
Well, look, Paul, for the last 8 years of my laboratory business that I used to have in the old days, way back, was just doing sports mouth guards for like rugby, hockey, lacrosse, and we would send dentists into schools. And so I'm only recently painfully aware that a plastic impression tray takes up to 450 years to degrade in landmass. Right? So
Sure.
I've put over 8 years. I've put my business, a small business, tiny business, put 40,000 impression trays into a hole in the ground for the next 450 years. So I had no alternative, but scanners, that's why I'm passionate about intraoral scanners. So you think about the products that you use, if we're looking at green issues now, if you think about the products that you use in the surgery, think about all the products that have wrapped around those products to deliver them to you, So,
Yeah.
So I'm a fan, I'm a fan.
Even the fuel it takes to get from place A to place B, and actually I quote you in some of my lectures, to be honest with you, because we've discussed this before, of the laundry list of all the different things that are changed in the dental office and in the laboratory to see the excess cost. People say, what's the return on investment? Well, there's, other than the obvious of the quality of the restorations, it's all the external things that add up. Every little thing adds up to quite a bit of money.
But I wonder whether you've noticed, it's now, we're not calling them impression scanners anymore. We calling them intraoral scanners.
Yes.
Because they're more than just an impression, aren't they? It's a bit like your mobile phone, isn't it? My primary purpose of a phone is WhatsApp and Facebook. It's not the phone.
Yeah.
That's down the list of priorities of what I use that for. So the intraoral scanner for me, the move forward is patient monitoring, and that's been shown up in this current situation. So out of adversity, innovation comes through.
Absolutely. And there's a value added that when you're not selling a machine, you're selling a value added with the software and your personal help to the people, et cetera, et cetera. David, I need about another hour with you.
This is only part one, isn't it, Paul?
Yes, I guess so. I guess so. That's fine. I'll be home for another few weeks, so I think we have more time coming up. So
It's an
we have to sort of
absolute pleasure.
cut the button at this point. I just great seeing you again. I miss you.
Absolute
I
pleasure.
hope
Me
to
too.
see you at least. I hope the IDS show appears in March. I mean, that's gonna be a big test
It,
by the
c-
time I come to next March.
it could be. I think it will be on. I think it will be a test on our livers, Paul. The amount of alcohol we will be consuming is, you know, but
It's the
it'd be
first
great
time
to
you've seen
see you.
human beings other than your family.
I know, and they've seen enough of me now. Anyway, absolute pleasure, Paul. Take
What a
care.
pleasure, David. Thanks so much. I'll be in touch with you. I'll send you. I have some other questions for you later on, and I'll be in touch with
Fantastic.
you. Thanks. Thanks so
Take care.
much.
Pleasure.